Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to China Insights. My name is Ben Hedges, and in the studio I have Willie Zhang from China Insider.
Hello, hello, hey everybody.
And we also have Tamuz Itai, contributor to the Epoch Times.
Thank you.
And today we are going to be discussing Chinese EVs, or electric vehicles, and asking the question, are they just overhyped but unsupported by reliable and safe technology? China is certainly producing a lot of them, and some would say dumping them in certain markets. And we've got a load of videos as well of Chinese EVs exploding, blowing up, crashing into oncoming traffic, etc. So David, why don't we take a look at some of these videos that you've prepared for us?
Yeah, I basically searched, this is a very quick search, 15 minutes, and I found a dozen of these. So they're happening in China a lot. And yeah, let's see which first one we can take a look at here.
Oh, this.
Yeah, so what this one is the car crashed, and look at what they're doing there.
That's right. The first thing they do is they are covering up
logo.
The logo,
Yeah.
Which I assume these people were like sent by the dealership or something, or?
Yeah, I call them like the crisis management team, crisis management response team, right? They're like faster than the ambulance, because there was another video where they showed up faster than the ambulance and the firemen.
It'd be funny if they brought like a little Mercedes logo with them and stuck it on.
Just like take out the logo, swap them on there. Yeah, they should do that with Tesla. If it's like BYD or something,
put a Tesla
little logo thing on there. But you know how is it Bentley? It's not Bentley. It's Rolls Royce, right? They have the
little statue,
and if you like break it off, or like it's anti-theft function where it like goes into the car.
Yes.
They should do that with
yeah, little thing that flips around, the logo disappears, right?
In case of accident.
Exactly. I think James Bond in one of the 007 movie, he actually had the plate switching thing function in his car, but not the car manufacturer. So.
That would be really cool. All right. Well, let's take a look at another one of these. Okay. So this one. Okay.
So this is I believe this is BYD.
Wow. Look at that.
Mid-transport.
Yeah.
Straight up on fire. I don't know, how do they just combust like that?
Well, they have a self-immolation mode, don't they? That's what a lot of netizens say.
Yeah, I call them the communist combustion product.
But presumably these are the batteries exploding, right?
Yeah.
Because their battery technology is all copied from other countries, and they have gaps in their knowledge and safety and stuff.
Which is interesting because the case we saw with the Tesla truck, Cybertruck, in front of the Trump Hotel, the battery was fine, but it was the fireworks in the back.
The battery didn't actually catch fire in that case,
I don't think so,
right?
no.
Wow.
No. Okay, let's see another one. So this is a brand called Weltmeister, and then it just started to smoke while it's just parked there. How
do they choose a name like that, Weltmeister?
Well, they had so many different names. So there's the one in the picture we have in the studio is called Xpeng. There's Neo. There's
I think there's like over 100 different companies, EV companies in China, and each one of them has at least one model, if not 10 models, right? So they need to pick names that sound
original,
but
like
techy. Good.
But it sounds like they're trying to hide that they're Chinese, calling themselves Weltmeister. You know, like it's like German.
Like German as heck, right?
Right. Yeah.
There's one company that just went bankrupt, which we'll talk about later. But apparently, half of these companies, Tamuz, even Chinese people have never heard of. So they exist and they make cars, and these cars look like real cars, but nobody's ever heard of them.
And they often go bankrupt really quickly, don't they?
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess it just randomly combust, spontaneous combustion.
Wow.
Okay, let's take a look at the next one.
Oh, there's another one.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's more of an explosion.
Oh my gosh.
So that's got to be the battery exploding.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it doesn't just happen to big sedans or cars. It also happens to the little scooters, because those also contain batteries. And then because usually in China they're parked in a giant parking lot. So you would end up having one kaboom, and then
they all do.
Simultaneously all the other ones do.
Wow.
Let's see another one here.
Oh, I think I know this one.
Ooh.
Wow.
That looks more like the tires blew up, right?
No, it's something like underside blowing up.
I guess it could be the battery if the battery's underneath it, which I think it is.
It usually is, yeah.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you see a flame underneath it. Wow.
Do you think it could be a bomb?
Yeah, I don't know whether this, I've seen this footage before, this one. I actually don't know where this is, whether this is China or not.
Interesting.
I mean, they say it's China, but I can't see anything that actually tells you if it's China or not.
I see Chinese characters on the sign.
On the left?
Yeah, on the right.
Okay, on the right.
Are those? I think they are. Okay, let's see the next one. This one is a Huawei Aito. So Aito is a company that Huawei doesn't make cars, they make phones, but it's a joint company that they started with, I don't remember who the other guys are. And then Aito is, it's very problematic. There's a lot of these videos from Aito cars. There's a scandal back last year that when the car crashed, also a Huawei Aito car, the car doors wouldn't open.
Okay.
And the people inside just kind of, burned alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
In some of these cars, the airbags don't deploy either.
Yeah. And the security, not the security, the support structure, the A-frames, which is the front, near the front windshield, usually you want those things to be pretty strong to withstand like a front a crash from the front. But there's a video from pretty recently. A car went through like a semi-truck, the trailer portion, and then it just kind of flattened. Like the entire thing got crushed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So their safety rating, I don't know how they get their safety ratings, but it's definitely not up to standard either. So, okay, let's see the next one.
Oh, there we go. Self-immolation mode activated.
Wow.
It's really burning, isn't it? It's like it's got a fuel source, I guess, the battery.
And you cannot just get rid of these with water because they're lithium. So they actually burn, combust even more if I just learned this the other day, that if you use water on it, it will like react even.
But they're using water there, look. I remember looking in the comments of this one, someone said, oh, they're using water on an electrical fire. And you shouldn't do that. But in the video, they clearly use water. I don't know why. Normally you'd use like foam or something, right? You'd need it.
Like a fire extinguisher, right?
Yeah.
Huh, they did get rid of it.
Look, they're using water.
Oh, okay. But it's like, that's kind of scary because everywhere you walk in China, so after that Cybertruck incident, even though it wasn't because the car itself blew up, now every time I drive next to a Cybertruck, I make sure that I drive a little bit farther from it. Yeah, because I'm still kind of scared. And also because we're supposed to have Alan here, and he didn't make it because he went out to charge his Tesla, and he's still stuck out there. So.
Oh, he's got a Tesla?
Yeah, he's got a Tesla. That's why we wanted to invite him on, but he's like, oh, I can't make it today. I was like, okay. Yeah, so he's got an EV, and that's one of the issues. You have to be stuck in a truck. Oh yeah, that reminds me. There's a story. So these taxi drivers in China, they were fooled into buying EVs because it's going to save them a little bit on the fuel cost. But then the dealership offered them a free battery swap as part of the free maintenance. After they got that maintenance, it went from, they usually got like a 400 range, kind of 400 kilometers range. It went down to like maybe 200, maybe 100 kilometers. So it ended up being them being stuck at the charging station for longer than
because
actually.
They swapped it for an older battery?
Or I don't know, something will happen.
Because I've seen this technology that China has where they can actually swap the battery. It looks kind of impressive. Like you go into this little building and then that takes control of your car and your battery comes out the bottom and a new battery goes in. And there's some videos by Western YouTubers made about this. I don't know if they're being paid to make those videos or they just thought it was cool. I'm not sure. But anyway, on the surface, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're swapping for batteries that loads of other cars have used before, then and you just started with a new battery, then they're not going to be as good.
That's true.
I mean, I think generally speaking, when it comes to EVs, every battery has a limited number of cycles it can go through before it's not useful anymore. And the EV market is pretty new, but I think soon people will have to start getting new batteries for whatever EV they have, and those are pretty expensive.
It's like the most expensive part of the car, isn't it? Yeah. And that's also why there's not really much of a second-hand market for EVs. Like you try and buy like a second-hand Tesla, it's not really a very good deal because the first person has already worn like down the battery.
Basically buying an iPhone, right? Yeah. Buying a used iPhone. After iPhones now, after 3 years, the battery is practically unusable. Like my old phone, I get maybe 5 hours of charge from 100 to 0. before it just, like I have to charge it again. But when I bought the phone 3 years before that, I can go for like a day or two using it, and I still have maybe like 15% by the end of it. So, okay, let's take a look at the next one. Oh, this one apparently is a BYD flagship model.
And BYD is one of the biggest companies, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And there's no accidents, right? Like these are just randomly blowing up and combusting by itself. So what do you guys think?
Well, there were a few other. So one aspect of it is that they burn, right? The batteries spontaneously combust. But there are a few other clips we have of them crashing. There's one very cool clip of a car crashing into. It just has a mind of its own, and it takes control, and it just swerves off the road and crashes into a load of other cars. So what's the reason that they are so lacking in safety?
For me, I think it's because the safety is not really the focus. I think for a car design, for China, the main goal is they're really just trying to say that we can do this. Like they don't want to be. Let's put it this way. I think they can sacrifice a lot of things so that they can say that we did it. Because if you really think about the way that, like with the phones especially, like Huawei, I remember, it was just that when they released a new device, they make it sound like that this is the most cutting edge thing, right? But afterwards, if you actually go into the specs, it's a mid-grade phone. It's not going to be the one that's gonna, like the iPhone killer or the Samsung killer. But the way they make it is like they make it sound like this is the best thing. This is the most cutting-edge technology, and they can do a bunch of propaganda rallies around that and to make it seem like that. So I think for me, the biggest reason is they just think that as long as we pretend like we can do it, then it's fine. We can worry about all of the safety stuff later, because once we make that space say we're the best, well, we can silence anybody we want, right? These videos, you won't see them circulate on Chinese social media, right? So there's no reasons for them to need to worry about that kind of thing.
What I know about this is that this is like a key industry, isn't it, in China that the CCP supports. So they don't really do safety recalls in China because it kind of looks bad, right? And if other countries see it and they see, oh, there was a massive safety recall in China, we're not going to let those cars come into our market, right? There was one in Australia for Chinese EVs, where if you removed the charging cable while it was charging, it would electrocute you. And so they did a safety recall in Australia, but that's because it was a foreign market. They had to do it, right? Because it was Australian regulations. But they didn't do it for the same car in China.
Well, there's also no such thing as lemon law, right? If something is defective and there's a massive recall, you could go to the dealership and they'll fix it for you, but likely they won't make it so that it's like you won't find accountability, because so in 2013 China did have a law that says if there are some issues with the car and things like that, you can go and you can get parts swapped out for it and to make it better. But when you actually have problems, let's say somebody died in an accident, or if say in the cases where the doors malfunction and you couldn't get out, you can't really be, like the dealerships and the car companies aren't responsible for those situations. Like you'll never get compensated, and you really can't sue. So they get away with a lot more of these legal issues than Western car manufacturer would. So.
Right, because if you sue, you could end up in trouble because you're getting on the wrong side of the CCP, aren't you?
I think in China basically. Everything, it's not really a market economy. Everything is subordinate to whatever the heads of the Communist Party want. And in recent couple of years, they have this saying, new productive forces or something. That's saying that Xi Jinping and everybody says, which basically means most of our industries are in trouble. Let's really support the car industry because maybe we can make some money with it yet. And so they've, like other industries like the Huawei, not just the phones, but the infrastructure, other things, they hugely subsidize all their companies, both to maintain growth and to have people buy their local companies, and also to dump at lower prices and get market share all over the world. And everything is subordinate to that, to whatever national security, world hegemony. aspirations they have. And as long as that somehow seems to work, they keep at it. And at some point, if it doesn't work, they just drop it and move on to the next thing.
Okay.
So I think right now they have like their capacity is double of what they're selling right now. And they've oversaturated the Chinese market. They're trying to sell abroad, but Europe has put up barriers. The US has put up barriers. They try to manufacture in Brazil or in Mexico, but I don't think that will really fly with the Trump administration. They're trying to sell their electric cars to Russia, but I don't know how many Russians can buy cars. So it's
also really cold in Russia. Electric cars don't do too well in the cold.
Yeah, but I think it's like all they took control of Africa to get hold of all the minerals and to be the number one battery maker. So basically, it was really hard for them to compete in the combustion engine space because there were companies that have been doing it for a century, and I saw the EV market as like this is their chance to take control of the car industry all over the world, and they pushed the green energy thing, and they've done a pretty good job in terms of getting a lot of market share. But now all the problems are coming up, and they have to deal with that because of what you said, that they don't really put a lot of emphasis on the design quality and safety and all of these things. And after a while, you can't fool everybody all the time.
But that's the thing, right? Because in China, there's no such thing as credibility, which is like a huge Western idea. Is if your credits are good, right? The American government credits ratings pretty good, so you can buy the U.S. Debt as a form of investment. But in China, there's like the entire society. There's no such thing as credibility. So you could really. That's why there's a lot of things that are fake in China, because you say you fooled somebody once, right? You just go start another company and you do it again. And that's why I think this idea is that they're seeking the short-term gain. By the time that people realized, oh, maybe a Huawei device was spying on you, or maybe something was doing it, like TikTok was bad for you, well, then they can just move on, like you mentioned, to the next big thing. So I think EVs, the thing about the Chinese EV industry is that they don't have a core innovation behind the industry, right? Like they will never have a Tesla. BYD, if you really look at BYD, it's basically if you took what Tesla's technology was for like say a fraction of that, but you can mass produce it at a much higher production rate than Tesla does with an entire state behind it, that's basically BYD. But if you're talking, would it ever surpass Tesla? Maybe in like some colors and the interior, I don't know, designs. But in the core technology, they never will. And like, this is not me speaking, this is Chinese experts saying that the Chinese EV industry is basically, it's with every other industry too. Like the way that Huawei is doing things, they were, selling things much cheaper, phones were cheaper than iPhones. Everybody thought, oh yeah, like these are the next big things. But they're really not. And I know BYD especially, they're selling like hotcakes in Southeast Asia, in Africa. That's because I think, because they're so cheap, right? If it's kind of like this. If people can afford to buy a Bentley or a Mercedes, I don't think they would go for a Chinese EV. But if you can only afford one and it looks kind of nice, I get why people would want to buy it. I think that's a reality too.
They have done some cool features on like the surface, the user experience. You know what I mean? And there's quite a lot of reels and stuff on Instagram. Like,